Hello makers, welcome back to 3D Maker Noob. I'm Joe, and today I'm going to show you how to design something like this on Fusion360 and print it in multicolor on the Prusa i3 Mark II. Stick around. Welcome back makers. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, a few weeks ago I tweeted out a poll, and that was to figure out a name for the Josef Prusa i3 Mark II printer that I have. With very high votes, the winner was the name Tigger. Now, it's quite appropriate because of the color of the printer. However, I felt like the printer needed a face to go along with it. I wanted to do something a bit special. I definitely wanted something to be in Colorprint on the Prusa with multiple colors. Wasn't quite sure how to do it, but I sort of had a bit of a rough idea. I knew that I needed Fusion360, and I also knew that I needed some kind of photo of Tigger's face on the internet. So I went scouring for one, I found one, and I went on to Fusion360 and started working on it. So the first thing you're going to need to do is open Fusion360, go on to Insert and choose Attached Canvas, and the first thing that you will need to do is choose the pane or the face you're going to be sketching on. In this case, I'm choosing the top face. Once you select the face, go on Select Image, and the window will open up to choose which image you would like to trace over. In this case, it was a Tigger photo that I found on Google. So you select it, you change the orientation and the scale. I wasn't really paying attention to the size. It really wasn't an issue. I just wanted to be a bit large so I can trace better. Once I found the orientation, I just reduced the opacity of the canvas. I didn't want it too visible, just so it wouldn't confuse the sketch, but barely visible enough for me to make out the lines and where I want to trace. Once that's done, I go on Sketch, Create Sketch, choose the face once again, and I choose the spline tool. Now the spline tool is quite particular because it kind of gives you an idea of the curve it's going to take. So it's pretty much a trial and error of going back and forth until you get the right curve at the right place, well, with the right curvature. It is a bit time consuming, but it's well worth the effort. So all you do is literally just keep on going around with the lines you're tracing. Take your time. If you happen to make a mistake, just do Control Z for those using a PC. For those using a Mac, I think it's Command Z if I'm not wrong. And it'll take you one step back. And you just keep on tracing round and round. Now the most important thing is that obviously once you're done, you choose the same spot. When you're tracing the same line around, you don't stop it anywhere except for the last dot. Just like that. And this is what you do. You pretty much go around all of the sketch, choosing the curve, making sure it's right, tracing it out all along the path, all of the image. Now, if you notice, I keep zooming in and out of the photo. The reason for that is I know there's a setting to change the snap to grid somehow. I'm quite sure of it. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know where it is, but the problem was that whenever I was zoomed out too much, it was snapping to the wrong edge of a box on the let's call it the ruler. So I was just zooming in to expand the little boxes on the face in order for me to get a better spot where to anchor the spline. It wasn't a really big issue. It was just a matter of having to move back and forth on the scroll wheel. It was fine. It wasn't a big deal. And sometimes you still need to scroll out just to make sure that the image as a whole, the trace as a whole, is going right. Now you can obviously also stop a spline at any point by either pressing enter or else clicking on that very good sign in a circle that pops up as soon as you click on the place of a spline, which comes in quite handy, which is why sometimes it's best to sort of take a break, zoom out, see that everything's fine, it looks okay, the curvature continues quite nicely, and then you continue. What you can do in order to continue from the spline anchor that you stopped at is just click on the anchor, right click on it, repeat spline, which is just the first one at the top. Now you'll notice something very important, which is a very good idea to take note. I did this sketch within, I think it was about 2 weeks. I only worked in it a few minutes a day for about 3 or 4 days in total, whenever I had a bit of free time. And I was doing a severe mistake which cost me a bit dearly when I figured it out. And that was Fusion360 has this feature where if you start a sketch today or start part of a project today, you save the project. And then you go back another day, you open the project and start, for example, in this case, a new sketch to continue doing the splines. What happens is it does it in a different layer. It starts a completely new sketch. You can still see the sketches that you did before, but whatever sketch you do now or during that session is not a continuation of the prior sketch you were doing. In my case, I had no idea about that, so I kept on doing sketches, and what you'll notice is I could not select independent parts which were closed off on the sketch. Whenever I tried to highlight a part, the whole of the image was being highlighted rather than sections off from the spline, and I couldn't figure out why. And later I spoke to Lauren from Abuzz Design, who's been a great help. And it turned out that what I had to do was actually continue the sketch that I was doing rather than start a new one as a new layer. So I pretty much had to almost start over again. The way I did this was in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see sort of the steps that you've taken during your project. So the first one, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a square which is where I put the canvas on the background. The second square is when I started the sketch. Then I stopped, I saved it, started another day. Then the second sketch was there. Stopped again, started a new session on another day, and that created yet another sketch. So as you can see here, I could not highlight the part that I wanted out of the sketch. I was trying to choose sections in order to extrude, but I simply couldn't. The whole image was highlighting, and I could do the nose, for example, because I did that within one session and a couple of other parts, but for the rest of it I couldn't, and that's because Fusion360 was not integrating the sessions I was doing. It was taking them as separate sessions. So what I had to do there is literally delete everything that I had done for the past 2 sessions and continue off from the first session. And the way you do that is by right-clicking on the first session of the sketch and choose Edit Sketch. And what happens is you're back on that layer and you can continue where you left off. So you choose Spline and you continue from there. As you can see, after editing the sketch, and now I'm back to just 1 session of sketch, I can easily choose each part independently. Whatever I highlight, it's a closed off area that I had done with the splines. So very important to keep in mind, whenever you're saving a project and continuing it another day, make sure that you edit the step that that you were working on rather than starting a new step, whether it's a sketch, whether it's modifying something. Always right click on it and then choose Edit. Now the trick with multicolor or color print is setting different layer heights for each color that you're going to print with. Now I know that Tigger's face has 4 colors in total. There is the light yellow, the orange, the pink for the nose, and also the black for the outlines. So every single layer has to be set at a different height. Sorry, I mean every single color has to be set at a different height. Now I didn't want it to be too complex. I wanted this to be quite small because I just want to stick it on the Prusa i3 Mark II. So what I did was, first I chose the light color because it's the most visible, and it kind of gives a better view when you look at it from the side when you're doing multicolor prints on top of each other. So I set it to a height of 5 millimeters. Then I chose the next color, which was the orange. I kind of went on a scale of the lowest height is the color I see the most of, and working my way up from there. So there's the most color visible is the light yellow. Then I took the orange because there's just a bit less than the yellow. So I set it a few millimeters higher than the yellow. Then I took the nose and I set it a few millimeters higher than the orange. And then I chose everything else, which is the black part plus the eyes and the eyebrows. And I set those to have the highest extrusion limit. So black would be always the last color to be printed. Once that's done, it takes shape. You can then what you do is just switch off the canvas and the sketches so you can have a much better view. Have a look at it, go around, make sure it's fine. Once you're done and everything's fine, right click on the project, click on Save as STL, and as soon as the box comes up, just click on OK, save it to wherever you want to save it, and you're done. Once you're done, what you're going to need to do is open Slicer, add the model itself, and as you can see, it's not in the right orientation, it's not in the right size, and that's fine. So what I did here was scale it to 45%. I rotated it on the x-axis to minus 90 degrees, and it fit perfectly fine. So once it's done, the scale is right, you go through the printer settings. Now for this particular printing, as it's quite small, I wanted a 0.15 millimeter layer height. I also wanted to change the top and bottom layers, it wouldn't make much difference because it's quite small, quite thin. So the infill is pretty much irrelevant because there might not be any, or there would be very few layers not needing full extrusion. Change the filament settings to the temperatures that you need. Now, very, very important is choose the color print option. So it removes the Z-hop, because if you leave the Z-hop, it will not work. Once that's done, you click on Slice Now, and you can have a look at the print. And it seems quite fine. So the next step you need to do is figure out at which layer height you want the color change to happen, and make sure you take note of which color you are going to change to. So once that's done, you go on the Layer tab and you scan through the layers to see if everything looks alright. And I can see that in total I have 2.85 millimeters in layer height, split by 0.15 millimeters per layer. So what I do is scroll through the layers and see where there's a shift in printing pattern. So here I can see that the light yellow areas stop printing and the orange starts printing only, and the black parts. So I know that at layer 1.95 I need to switch color to orange. I'll bring up the photo just to have an idea. Keep on scrolling up and I see that at 2.25 it stops printing the orange and starts everything else. So I know that at that point I need to start printing in pink. I shift a few layers up and the nose stops printing. So whatever is left is the black outline. So I know that at 2.55 I need to do another layer shift and change to black. So once that's done and I took note of all the layers that need color changing, I simply export the file into a folder on the computer, and then I open the Colorprint app, which you can download from the Prusa site, which I will link in the video description. Once the app opens, you simply find the STL file, or sorry, the G-code file. You drag it onto the Colorprint, and you simply start adding at which layer height the color change will happen. So the first one will happen at 1.95. If you type it in manually and then click add another layer, it will shift the number one up. So make sure you click plus or minus if the number is not the same as you entered it. So we have our 3 layer changes there, 3 color changes. The first one being the yellow, which starts with, then it changes to orange, pink, and black. We're going to save the G-code file onto the SD card, and we'll send it off to print. Now the process wasn't that complicated. It's a fairly straightforward process. If you think about it, all you need is to attach a canvas on one of the panes you're going to be sketching on. You sketch around it, you extrude, and you save. So it's a very simple process, and I figured out that there's quite a lot that can be done with just this feature. I think it's a basis for a lot of designs which I have an idea for. This turned out absolutely fabulous. I honestly don't think I could have asked for a better result. The colors are spot on. I have used Faber-Dachery PLA for the light yellow and the pink, and Rigid Ink PLA for the orange and I also used the Prusa PLA for the black. It's quite a mixture of PLAs. However, they all printed at 200 degrees. And it turned out absolutely brilliantly. I did have a bit of an issue on the first one I attempted to try. And that was this. And the problem was, once again, my warping. I had the bed at 55 degrees, started warping. I'm not really very fond of the PEI sheet. But anyway, I tried it again. What I did, which you didn't see on the tutorial, is I was running out of this very light yellow PLA from Faber-Dashery. So what I did is I simply used rigid ink white PLA for most of the first layers because I wasn't sure I had enough light yellow. I just needed 2 layers of it just to cover the face of Tigger. But underneath all that, as you can see from the side, it's white. It turned out absolutely great. This is the first iteration of this face. There is another method that I'm going to do, and that is the same method that SparkyFace5 has shown on her videos. I will link that to the video description below. I think that's going to be a bit of a bigger challenge because it's not just about tracing, it's about adjusting sizes, one piece fitting into another, different pieces to the whole face separately. But it's a challenge, and I'm always up for a challenge. However, this turned out absolutely beautifully, and I'm very happy with it. I'm very proud of myself that I managed to go this far and actually finish it. That is it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching my first ever tutorial episode on Fusion360. Baby steps. I will learn as I go along. This was my first sort of completed project in Fusion360s, apart from my maker coins. I enjoyed myself quite a lot. The more I learn, the more I will share with you guys. In the meantime, if you have any questions, suggestions, or possibly things you want to see me do with Fusion360 on this channel, please leave a comment. I'm always up for a challenge. In the meantime, if you want to see more Fusion360 tutorials, head over to Lauren from A Buzz Designs. She's an absolutely awesome designer. She does great things with Fusion360 and great tutorials. I will leave a link to her channel in the video description. In the meantime, thanks once again, guys. I appreciate all the support. 1,000 subscribers is getting close, much quicker than I could ever anticipate. I truly appreciate it. Please like this video, subscribe, share, comment, find me on Twitter, follow me, and in the meantime, happy making, guys.